You speak about having the right balance between youth and experience. Jani Lackinen has kind of a decade more experience than all of the other skaters on the roster. What kind of role do you expect him to play both on the ice and in the locker room this year?
Yanni's he's I guess quiet in his approach, not a big talker, very good pro. I mean, takes care of himself very well, and there's the experience element, but there's also the quality on the ice. Yanni he led our league in assists in our last full season. Big contributor on that line, on the power play. Our power play was probably the best it's been since I've been here, and he was a big part of that. So we looked at things in the off season after the mini series, and anytime a guy gets to the age, in his late 30s, you have to see if it's still a viable option. But, in my 15 years in this league, I haven't seen many better passers than Yanni. And I think the fact that he takes such good care of himself as well was another element to why we brought him back. And, he was a big piece of our success in that season, and we expect the same.
You spoke as well about how kind of the recruitment market has changed because of the coronavirus. Dane Gibson's one of the new arrivals. He arrives having previously played in the NCAA at the University of Maine and U Sports for the University of Calgary. What kind of expectations do you have for him coming into his first season in the Elite League?
No, Dane's he's a big guy that can move very well. He's got a good skill set for a defender, and there isn't a lot of experience there at the pro level, or none at all, sorry. But we like what we've seen from them, but there's always an element of how they transition, how they adjust to the style of play over here to being in the pro game. So, I think for a club like us, and I don't like to talk about, budgets and, high spending teams, low spending teams, but, where we are as a club, we try to, and I think we have to find, a couple of those players that we find on value that end up being worth more than what they are. So, we've had success in the last few years. We had a couple guys straight out of NCAA in Eichstätt and pole camp in the last season, and they didn't miss a beat. They looked like they were 4 or 5 year pros by the end of the year, and that's what we got to do. We can't just go and sign 14 guys with great resumes, and we just don't have the finances to do that. So these are kind of guys we're trying to find at the right time, and we've had some success with it in the past, and hopefully that's the same this year, and we don't have to make any adjustments.
And on a similar note, obviously Austin Mitchell-King and Sam Russell were back on two-way deals this year. Kind of, what will their involvement in the team look like on a practical level? How often will they be around the team?
Weekly, they'll be around it. The plan is for both of them to be, we say two-way. Some clubs use the apprenticeship word, whatever. I mean, it all ends up being the same thing, and they'll be training with us as much as possible during the season, during the week, when it doesn't clash with their club's training, and when we have the ability to get them in a game. One thing I'm weary of is and I've spoken to both of them, we won't bring them into games with the intentions of just parking them on the bench. When we do bring them in, it'll be with the intention to use them, because that would possibly pull them away from their club. And sometimes it doesn't always work out. Maybe they get a few shifts, and then you find yourself in a 1-goal game and protecting a lead or trying to come back, and maybe you don't get them out as much as you would have intended. But the intention will always be, if we call them up, then we'll get them out there. So we could see them feature in some games this season.
Just one more signing I wanted to pick up on, that's CJ Mott. Like, objectively, from a neutral's perspective, he was outstanding for you down the stretch at the end of that 1920 season. Where did he rank in your priorities to bring back this season, or was it always a fairly certain deal that he'd be back in Coventry this year?
It wasn't a certainty. He was pretty high up on the priority list. We had him signed for what would have been the 2021 season, and obviously when that got shut down, he was fortunate enough to get some playing time, and obviously spent some considerable time in the American League. Initially as a backup, got in some games, and I think into a third goalie role, and then obviously finished the season with the Allen Americans in the playoffs. But we pushed for that one, and